Hello my creative friends. Tonight YouTube drawing and painting tutorial is going to be for the chrysanthemum, the November birthday flower. I have a whole series of the birthday flowers, and tonight for the month of November it is the chrysanthemum. That's a hard word to say. Chrysanthemum. Not only is it hard to say, it's a little difficult to spell. I definitely had to look it up to make sure I had that word right. I'm going to be showing you some simple ways to apply the watercolor. Now, if you're in my sketchbook subscription, I'll be giving you the line drawing, so you can go ahead and trace it if you would like. But you can easily do this freehand as well and not have any pencil drawing. I am a drawing sketching gal, so I do like having a sketch to go along with my painting. But once I had it sketched, I have a bigger one in the center, two smaller ones here that you're kind of seeing more of that bowl in the middle, and then I do have a bud. Now with the chrysanthemum, the thing that's kind of important when you're doing this flower is that the center part here goes up. Your leaves are more rounded at the end, they're not pointed. You will have some of these little areas that kind of dangle down on this flower. They are very pretty color flowers. They have all different colors. So just choose a color that maybe you would like, or if you're giving this as a birthday card to someone, choose a color they would like, and it would just be fine, whatever you choose, because they do come in a whole bunch of colors. I'm thinking I'm going to be doing a little bit of this reddish color. I'm using my Paul Rubens tonight. This is called Madder Red, and maybe a little bit of violet and maybe some scarlet in there too, just to add a little bit more color. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of those colors, put them out on my palette. Woo, that's a bright color, very intense color. Let's put a little bit of this over here. Now, since this is a very potent color, it's probably going to move around a lot, and it's going to be a lot stronger color. Now, when you're doing watercolor, you have to remember, start light and bright, and then work your way dark. So for me, I'm going to be adding more water to this one right here. I do try to keep a paper towel in my hand so I can dab my brush and control the water, see what my color is going to be. It's a good idea to do that. I'm going to be using my Princeton Velvet Touch brush, a number 6 most likely. This is a card shape is what I'm going to be doing. It's a 6x6. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this reddish color, and I'm going to just be starting in the middle. Now this is dry paper, and I'm adding a few strokes on there. I'm going to skip some of my petals so they don't necessarily touch everyone. Now, if I were to touch my petals as they're wet, that color is going to move into each other. So wherever your paper is wet, that is where your watercolor is going to flow. So if you want more of an individual look of petals, you want to kind of keep an eye on that you're not going so close to the other one. So you can kind of see here where my colors are touching there at the bottom. My colors are going to blend into each other. Now, sometimes it's just perfectly fine. I can go ahead and take a little bit of this purple. My color's wet here. Now let's see if this color moves a little bit. I'm going to tap that down at the base of my flower and see if that travels up just a little bit. I'm working on the Canson paper, which is a 140-pound watercolor paper. It's considered a student grade watercolor paper, so it's not gonna move like 100% cotton paper, like a Arches watercolor paper or something like that, but I can still get a really pretty effect for a very reasonably priced paper. And often when you're starting or just practicing and you wanna sit down and watercolor, I enjoy using just a student grade because I don't feel it has to be precious every time. Well, you can kind of see it's moving a little bit. I'm also going in and kind of tapping in a little bit of color on my top. So I'm coming at the top, tapping it in just a little bit with the tip, and then seeing if I can't get my color to move just a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of like that look. I think that looks good. Let's continue on. So I'm going to be changing up my color. Let's move down here just a little bit to that color Madder Red. Let's work on a few of these here. I'm going to add a little bit more water this time and see if I can't get my color to flow a little bit more. Coming out. Ooh, I love these colors. They're pretty. I'm going to tap a little bit of that dark purple here now at the base and see if I can't get my colors to move a little bit. And that's the beauty of watercolor. It's all about that layering, the movement of the color. And that's what just brings that to life. Let's add a little bit of this red again. So I'm dancing back and forth in between those 3 colors and seeing how they blend. Let's maybe touch this one. You can go a little bit crazy if you want to and add a little bit more color back there. Now those have had a little bit more time to dry, so I'm going to be laying in a little bit more of these petals in the background, layering in another color, maybe a little, mix my color this time and see, and just lay that in there, and then fill in that space because that mum or that chrysanthemum is going to have that little curved bowl, tighter area at the top. So I'm going to be filling it in and not have such an airy look. I'm also curving this at the top here a little bit so my petals are coming around. That's going to give it that chrysanthemum mum look. I tap a little bit more color here, let that loosen up. Ooh, I love those little color blends that are happening there. Look very pretty. I'm hoping that the camera picks that up and you can see how gorgeous they are. And that wasn't a lot of work to do that. Let's work a little bit more on these other ones here. I'm going to do these maybe in a darker purple, switch it up just a little bit more. Let's start that same movement where I'm going to be coming around, doing that where they're curving around each other. This is a very simple flower to create, and who wouldn't love to get one of these as a gift? If you send this as a birthday card, who wouldn't love this? I think they would think it's very special that you sent them something like that. Now you can leave it just like that where it's very much a simple color. I can come in and tap in just a little bit more of that color, adding just a little bit more, making it a little bit more colorful. But you could leave it just the solid purple. You could deepen it up. Now remember, your watercolors are going to dry lighter. So what you're seeing now is a wet color, but when this dries, it's going to be a little bit lighter. I like it. I like it. I think that looks great. Now I'm going to work a little bit on this bud. Now this bud would be darker because it's going to be concentrated. It's a tighter petal. So I'm going to probably make this a little darker. I'll start in my middle and add, so I have a little bit more color concentration on my brush. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit tighter. Okay, so you can kind of see my color is a little darker. I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of that purple. I'm going to give this a tap to make sure I have a little bit more control of the water. I don't want a lot of water. Oops, and there I did it. Now that's an oops boo-boo when it comes to watercolor. Let's see if we can fix this. All right, I'm going to come in with some clean water, rinse my brush off. This is good because then you can see how you can kind of deal with an oops boo-boo. Watercolor is different than acrylic paint when I can't just paint right over this and not necessarily see where I just did this oops boo-boo. I'm going to come in with my paper towel. I've wetted my paper towel and I'm going to just kind of dab up and down. Luckily, these flowers are kind of more organic in nature. There's not a lot of structure to them. Oops, Melanie, you kind of missed it. If you're new here, you're getting to see an oops boo-boo. But that's okay. We need to see how we can do that too. So you can find out that you don't necessarily have to stress like, oh my gosh, I just dropped my brush on my painting. Okay. These, the one nice thing about this painting, it is a simple little painting. It goes quick. So even if you do an oops boo-boo, you can maybe save it. All right, now I have to remember my paper is a little wet there. So maybe I want to give that a little chance to dry, just a tiny bit. Let's move over here. I'm going to add a little bit more dark to this one. Always have to remember we have to have a little contrast in our paintings to make them to come to life. So if they're all the same, they're not going to have the depth or the interest to your painting. So I'm adding less color to my, less water to my brush is what I meant to say, and a little bit more color. So I'm going to be tapping this on here. So that first layer is my highlights. These are the shadows. So basically in watercolor, you're painting the shadows. I like my big one just kind of the way it is. I hesitate to add a little bit more water in there. I'm gonna wait on that one and see if I really wanna add more color. Let's come over here and let's work on this one. Let's add a little bit more color. So again, I'm starting with that bulb shape here. These are tighter. I'm kind of doing more of a group, kind of more, and not doing necessarily a lot of individual petals. You could paint this way as well for that big one if you wanted to do it that way. It's just a little different look. Okay, I like that look. Let's go ahead and tap in a little bit of this darker purple. There's less water, or less, less water. Ooh, I'm trying to think about what I'm saying because I'm gotten flustered about dropping my paintbrush, forgetting what I want to say. Okay, so let's let that sit just like that and see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna show you, because I'm experimenting with mine. I'm gonna show you what you can do now. This was overglazed. Let's see what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and water this down. So I'm adding more water to it, and I'm going to be glazing over the top. So by doing more water, I can come in and layer another color on the top, glazing that look in, and I can create a pretty look like that too without going so dark. I can glaze it over and add another layer. So these are transparent layers, so every little layer you put on is going to make a difference. All right. Yeah, I'm thinking I like that. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you think you like it too. I'm gonna go ahead and take up a little bit of green here. Let's go ahead and swing this palette this way. Take a look at the green. Now, depending on what you have in your palettes for greens and what you want to do for your green, if you ever want to neutralize your green and bring it to more of a little bit more neutralize it, is add the opposite color, add the complementary color. So the complementary color to green is red. So you could pick up a little bit of this red color that we had used here. I can add that to there, and that's going to make that green a little deeper. Do you see how that switched really quickly and it became a different shade of green? I don't know if I particularly like that. I'm going to bump it up again. And sometimes it's fun just to add a little bit of the green or the little bit of the other colors that you were using in your painting and bring those in to the other colors, the other greens. So I'm basically loaded my brush. I have a lot of paint at the tip there. This is a watercolor brush, so it's going to hold quite a bit of water. That might be different if you're using a brush that's not a watercolor brush. It may not hold as much water. This is a synthetic brush though, so it's not a super high quality brush. It would be considered a student brush, but it's gonna give you a whole fair amount of water. Now those are just the little branches. Now chrysanthemums have kind of like a little bit of a longer leaf that has a little bit of a regular. It's not like, well, let's see if I can do it on here. When sometimes when I think about a regular leaf, I think about a football leaf. So it's got a point and a belly, something like that is what I consider a regular leaf. A chrysanthemum leaf is more like a thistle leaf in a way, where it's gonna have those little jaggedy edges that come out and then come around and then in. So it's gonna have a little bit of a pointy thistly leaf is what it's going to have. Now you don't have to do those exact either. I'm going to give a feeling of like that leaf is living there on this flower, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. What I really want to concentrate on for this one is the pretty color and that general feel of that. It's a chrysanthemum. Oh my goodness, that's hard for me to say. What will look good too is if you want to switch up your greens, and so this is my first layer of green, and I can add a few more layers onto that. So I can pick up a darker shade, add less water in there, and just choose another shade. There we go, and I can tap that in and add a little bit of interest to my leaves. Now I didn't think I was gonna do much of a background on here until I dropped my brush here before I started. I have this little color mixed up here that I've been doing a lot of fall paintings. It's kind of got this orangey, I don't know, fall color a little bit. I'm thinking that's gonna look good here. I'm gonna add that to my background, just really watered down. And I'm gonna add a little bit of that to my background. Since it's November, a little bit of that fall color might look good on this. I should have probably switched up my brush to something bigger. I'm gonna do this very watery style and just go move my brush back and forth. My paint hasn't had very much time to dry, so this is very much, I could lift this color easily if I get too strong with brushing my color back and forth close to what I've already done. So I wanna just make sure I'm kind of going quick. I can get a little close, but I don't want to spend a lot of time up there in my purple area and blending my color or lifting my color. But I do like that look. This is a little bit of rust here and here, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that color too. I like that. It's kind of just a nice fall color. Beautiful. Now if I had my metallic colors out, I would go ahead and splash a little bit of metallic color on there. Okay, maybe I'll stop it just right now and I'll come back. Just hang on a little bit. Okay, I'm back. If you've been around, you know I've had this set of Master's Touch metallic colors. They will last you a long time. I've had this set for a long time. I'm gonna choose this color here. You can tell which one's my favorite. That one, it's got the biggest hole in it. But go ahead and water that down. And metallic, when you use metallic watercolor, it looks more shiny once it's dry. It may not look as shiny right away, but it has a most incredible, beautiful shine when they dry. So I wanted to make sure I added some on there. Just a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of splitter splatter. So I've got it kind of fairly watered down and then added that on there. Let's go ahead and give this a dry and we'll come back and do a little bit of pen work. I have a couple gel pens. I believe I'm going to use the King's Art one. And I always say I think I bought these at Walmart, but I'm not 100% sure. These are a glitter gel pen. Glitter gel pens are super fun to add to your collection. If you don't have them, they're a great little glitter pen. These ones happen to be an inexpensive set. Let's see if you can't see a little bit of that shine. Hopefully that pops up for you. Now your watercolor paper will fold a little bit when you're drying it, and you can dry it on the back too when you're drying it so it doesn't curl so much for you, and try it that way. I'm going to use the purple to write November here. Now I'm just using my own handwriting. Firm believer that the more you practice handwriting, the better you're going to get. It's very much like a drawing skill. It's muscle memory of what it might be. Oh, I like that color. I think that looks good. I'm going to use this one. It's kind of a silvery charcoal. And I have these little lines drawn here on the end, and I'm just going to do these rich colors. When I'm doing line work, I like to pull towards myself. It just helps me make a little bit straighter line. Not that I'm looking for perfect by any means, but it does help if you pull the direction towards yourself. Okay, let's come across. Gel pens, when you're using them, you need to be a little bit, at least know where your hands are so you're not running through a wet color, because they will take a little bit more time to dry. Okay, let's give that a quick dry. Now I'm going to go ahead and use that same dark color. I'm going to use that to go ahead and write my words in the middle. Okay, and these are all hand done. What I did for these is I looked at how many letters I needed, or how many letters there were. And then I looked to see which would be the middle. And I just started where I knew how wide I wanted my letters and put the center one in there. So at least I had where the center one was. I made a couple more out, and then I started on the outside and then moved my way in. That just kind of helped decide how big I was going to be making my lettering to make sure it was going to fit. I wanted it a little bit centered. Now this time I'm going to be doubling up on any line that happens to go down. So if this line goes down, it gets double. This one goes down, double, double here. That. This is just a easy way to do kind of a script look, but it's all just really kind of informal, so it's not a really super intense look. Just remember, any line that would happen to go down is where you would double up that line. And it's just going to give it a kind of a fun little hand scripty look to it. Ooh, it's coming together. This pen, it's got some beautiful glitter, and I'm sure it's not showing up so well through the camera. You're just going to have to believe me. It looks great. All right, I'm thinking that looks great, and who wouldn't want to get that as a card? Or if it's your birthday in November, happy birthday to you. And here's celebrating the month of November for birthdays. Well, that is it, my friends. If you would like to go ahead and share your picture, you can always go over to my Facebook page, Painting Crafty. There'll be a picture of this underneath it. You can share it there. I love to share everyone's work because you encourage other people to try, and it doesn't have to look like mine to be good, and you encourage others to try. Well, that is it. Make sure you check out that link inside of the description box for my sketchbook membership if you would like to have a pencil drawing to do yours. I know not everyone likes to draw. Go over there and check it out. It's very reasonably priced, easy to join, and I so appreciate all those who join me over there and support my channel. Well, that is it for tonight. Thanks again. Come back and see me again. Bye now.